And now, introducing Casey Carter.
Hey, it's Casey, and it's time for Casey at Night. So today I am streaming on both YouTube and Periscope. Woo, fingers crossed that I get this right, y'all. Fingers crossed. So, oh my God. So, first of all, if you saw last week's show live, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm so ecstatic to have you here today. I want to thank my guest from last week, London Bridges. She was absolutely amazing. If you haven't seen it, it's available on YouTube. London talked about being a sex slave. Yeah, I said it. She talked about being a sex slave. Catch the show on my YouTube channel, Casey Carter, as well as my interview, my 4-part interview with Master Sekou. So thank you, London. Thank you to all of you. And I'm going to say this all night. I need you to subscribe to Casey Carter because I want you to not miss a single show. I spent a whole lot of time posting all over social media, but if you subscribe to Casey Carter on YouTube, then you won't ever miss a show. Okay? Excellent. All right. Hey, Catsuit. All right. Oh, I'm so excited to have you on. Um, so tonight, okay, so tonight, very dear friend of mine is on the show. As I mentioned, I post this stuff a million times on social media. So my guest tonight is Lexi Silver. And I'm just going to say real quick, Lexi and I met, I don't even know how many years ago it was. It seems like it's been forever ago. But Lexi and I met at Sex Down South. I was teaching a workshop called From Book to Brand. And Lexi technically was only supposed to be there like 10, 15 minutes. And then she was supposed to move to another workshop because she and her business partner at that time, or co-worker at that time, they were bouncing from workshop to workshop. And apparently, once I had her in my clutches, she did not want to leave. Well, I mean, you know. So, Lexi and I have been like bestie, friendsy, Canadian, USy. I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing because we both have this love of red and black. And every time we do something together, we manage to be in red and black. So I want to introduce you to my Canadian girlfriend, Lexi Silver. Hey, Lexi.
Hey, Casey. As always, you have the best introductions.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, before I get too far into my Lexi Silver moment, let me just give the folks a little bit about Lexi. So, Lexi Silver is the Montreal-based erotica author of Mating Season and All the Queen's Men. She enjoys sharing stories and experiences from her kinky and unconventional lifestyle. As an entrepreneur, podcaster, coach, advocate, educator, on air personality, and public speaker for open relationships and the swinging lifestyle, Lexi runs a successful coaching practice and regularly contributes articles about sex and relationship to ASN Lifestyle Magazine, SDC.com, and her personal blog, among others. In her work as the media director for SDC.com, the world's largest adult sex education and swingers dating platform, that was a mouthful, Lexi collaborates with sex, health, and relationship experts worldwide to provide reliable resources for those who seek it. Lexi frequently produces and hosts webinars and online events such as Cocktails and Erotic Tales, which I've had the pleasure of doing a few times, which feature erotic storytelling, fun games like Naughty Mad Libs, and more exclusive entertainment. My friends, here is Lexi Silver. Once again, shout out to Lexi. And I'm kind of like, giddy like a little girl. Because I feel like, it's like a slumber party where, I've invited my girlfriend over to hang out, and now we're here, and folks will get to listen to us sort of do what we do. Like, every time we do Cocktails and Erotic Tales, I always tell people, you should see me and Lexi when we're not like all dolled up and it's just us on Skype, and it's like, okay, girl, we gotta go. It's like being in a black church. Okay, girl, we gotta go. And then 15, 20 minutes later, okay, girl, I gotta go. And then 15, 20 minutes, okay, we gotta go. Okay, Johnny's home, you gotta cook dinner. Okay, and we're still talking. So I love me some Lexi.
I love me some Casey. You're so right. It does feel like it's always a girl sleepover.
Yeah.
And, it's nighttime, but you don't want to go to sleep yet. You just have one more thing you want to say. And then that just spirals into a whole other conversation. And then no one gets any sleep, but it doesn't matter because it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think that's part of the fun, though. I think that's part of why I enjoy you so much, is because it always has that girl sleepover feel to it. Like, nobody wants to go to sleep first because something may happen, while you go to sleep. I don't know, whatever the case is. But I want to thank you for being, I'm going to say this up front. Thank you for being my second live guest. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me because, as I shared with you earlier, I'm still working out the technical. And it's nice to have someone who loves you and will let you figure that shit out while you're going along.
It is more than my pleasure. Thank you for having me as your second guest on Casey at Night. So, yeah, I'm very, very happy to help you work out the kinks.
Oh, yes. Help me work out the kinks, girl. Okay. All right. Before I get a little too ahead of myself. So, Lexi, as I mentioned, you are the author of some erotic short stories that you have collected in. See? I got mine.
I love that you have one too. I love that you have your own copy. It's amazing.
Yes. And so, as I've read in Lexi's bio, she has this event called Cocktails and Erotic Tales. And basically, she's promoting her book. I'm not mad at it because Casey at Night started as me promoting my own erotic short stories. So brilliant. And again, I've also had the pleasure of being co-host on Cocktails and Erotic Tales and sharing my stories along with your stories. And one of our favorite things is the story swap, which I get a big giggle out of that. But tell us a little bit about the origins of Lexi as an erotic author.
Ooh, okay. Wow. Well, it all began as I was, I guess, embracing my psychosexual development as a teen. And really just getting, I guess, learning more about myself and like reading erotic literature and then writing. Just, I've always been a writer. And then as I guess, was coming into my own, the topics of my stories would become more fantasy based, things that I wanted to experiment with, things I wanted to try, things that I had done. And then it got dirtier and dirtier from there. And when I was about I can't remember how old exactly, I self-published the first version of Mating Season, which was really just like a bound copy that I got bound at like a local office supply store. And I just gave a few copies to my friends, and it was called Mating Season at the time. I don't remember why I chose the name. I don't remember all the details around that. Maybe it was the time that I did it. I can't really remember, but it just stuck. And then a few years later, I published a second version of Mating Season, which again, that I just gave to my closest friends at the time. And after that, it took a while. Like I still wrote stories, and then I always had this goal that I would one day officially publish an actual book, like a book, not one that was bound, like with, you know what I mean? So I think it took me a while to figure out which of the 8 zillion stories I actually wanted to include in there, because there are so many. And I took my time. I really took my time. I hired a fabulous editor and worked on, getting it all together, making it a little bit of everything. Some of my older stories are in there, like from, I don't know, 15 years ago, obviously with some editing. There's some newer stories, and all of them are tinged in reality, real life experiences. Sure, there's some fantasy in there. And there's some that are obviously not real, like my story Succubus, which is about a demon essentially, and that is actually the name of this picture, which was taken by my friend and photographer Fabrice Debray, and he let me use the photo on the cover. So that is, I guess, the short story behind my short stories.
So again, I also write short stories, and you said something that resonates with me, which is that you include some Lexi in the stories, right? I mean, that's I personally think that helps to bring some authenticity to the story, is when you put some of yourself in it. So how do you find, like, when I'm reading your stories, where do I find little bits of Lexi?
Where don't you find little bits of Lexi? I'm just like plastered over the pages. But I hear what you're saying, because, when I read stories, there are parts, and the characters, which are so strong, I'll read and I'm like, wow, that's Casey. And I know it's not, it's a different name, I get it. It's a different storyline, but I don't remember whoever said this many years ago. I don't know who I'm quoting right now, but when you are not actually, you can't connect with the characters.
Right.
And for me, regardless of the gender of my characters or where they're coming from, I connect with them because they're all little, I guess, inventions of my filthy imagination. So maybe they have, like, maybe there's a nerdier character who, really just is the essence of my nerdiness, right? All encapsulated in one character. And then maybe there's this complete shameless, slutty character who is really the essence of, I guess, me in general. And then, it really doesn't matter what character it is. Every character has a little bit of me in them, and I can't not have that. It's just how it is. So yeah, I haven't yet experimented with trying out a character who is nothing like me, in any way, shape, or form, like completely not, no characteristics at all in common, no interests in common. I haven't done that yet.
Right.
It's definitely a challenge I'm willing to undertake in the future.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I would have to say the same thing, that even my supporting characters, they're either another part of who I am, or they represent someone in my life. Because I've had people literally say to me, "Oh, you put me in your book." I'm like, "No, I didn't. No, 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 no." And then when I read the story, because the character is so much about Casey, that I'm like, "Oh, yeah, maybe a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit of you. Maybe. Because, you write what you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, you people find themselves all up and through the story, not because it's always intentional, but because you write what you know, and therefore people show up.
Yeah.
They show
Well, that's it. Because some of the stories, or most of them rather, are based on real life. Of course, the characters who I'm, with in the stories are based on real people. And some people know exactly. I've told them in advance. I got their consent. I asked, "Are you okay with me putting our experience in this book?" And they said, "Hell yes." Because they thought it was super flattering, right? Like, "Oh my God, that was so good. You want to write about it? You want to tell everyone what we did? Okay, crazy lady, sure, go for it." So yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and okay, one of the other things we've talked about, though, since we've already shared with all of you that we put our essence in our stories, one of the things you and I have talked about, Lexi, is how people can either create their own stories or use erotica to kind of bring a little sexiness to their personal experience. What would be your suggestion, advice, or what advice do you give when talking about that?
Oh, I love talking about that. I had you on my podcast a really long time ago talking about that exactly. And you gave me some great tips at the time too. And so now when I'm saying this, I don't actually know if this is me or you talking here.
Go.
It's really hard to say.
I don't care. Just go ahead. Tell them what you need to tell them.
All right. So I think the first thing is that so many people are afraid to write. "Oh, I'm not a good writer." Right off the bat. That's okay. Do you sext?
Right.
It's like sexting is an abbreviated version of writing. Granted, it has emojis, which are a whole different thing. Spelling is not a huge thing. Grammar is not a big thing, and that's okay. You're still telling a story at the end of the day, right? So for people who don't think that they can write a story, sext instead. You could still tell a story through messages, right? That's okay. You don't have to write a book. But before you even start that, if you're like, "I don't know, I don't have the inspiration, I don't know, what am I going to write about?" If you're writing for your own benefit, and I write for my own benefit, like, you're just lucky to read what I've written for my own benefit.
Right.
Right. But this is for me. So I love writing for myself, and I encourage you, before you write for anyone else, write for you. What gets you hot? Because if it gets you feeling horny, then you're achieving the goal, right? When you're reading your story back later, you're like, "Wow, that's hot." Isn't that the whole point, right? And if you sexy, then someone else likely at some point, if you ever want to show it to someone and you don't have to, they will find it sexy. So write for you first. And it could be anything you want. It could be a fantasy. Maybe you don't want to do it in real life. You just want to experiment with the fantasy on paper and see how it makes you feel. And I think it's a really good, safe way of being able to, like, decide if it's a fantasy that you do want to pursue with somebody else later on. I think it's a really good way to do that. It's a no pressure way to explore those kinds of fantasies. And it could be a fantasy with somebody who is maybe you're not supposed to be fantasizing about, which is always hot. Something that will never happen in real life, but you want to experience it in a story. And that will make it real for you. It'll make you feel good. So that is a good way to do it too. Now, for folks who are in relationships, erotica can take a completely different, right? You can write for each other. You can have one of you starting to write a story and the other person pick up the slack, and then switch off, right? You could each write one paragraph if you really want to. Or you don't have to do any of those things. You could just read other people's erotica to each other. That's a really hot way to experience foreplay on an intellectual level. And I love doing that. I love recommending doing that. If you don't want to write your own, read somebody else's erotica. And if you do want to write your own and your partner wants to get involved in it, use it as foreplay. So that's starting off point for some of my tips regarding erotica.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And yeah, all of that sounds familiar from when I did your podcast.
That's it. It's like, and that's why I'm saying I have to credit you, because I legitimately do not know anymore which of these are things that I've told people because it was like from me. Which of them are from you? I don't know. I'm sure there's alignment in some of them, but I don't know. So I can't take all the credit at all. So I'm saying it's probably you.
But it's, it's even for me, when I hear you say those things, like those legit are the things I would tell people, because there's like this tremendous amount of pressure to be a good writer. Listen, no, there really isn't. To Lexi's point, it's done for you. You write for you. And I agree. You want to do what you need to do that gets you off. Because at the end of the day, if you can't figure out what makes you hot and bothered, how are you going to expect anybody else to know?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. It's a journey of self-discovery as you're writing your fantasies and you're exploring your desires, or your Lexuality, as I like to say.
Girl, yes. Yes to all of that. I want to quickly promote next week's show. Next week, my guest is Michael Ramos, who is the CEO of ASN Entertainment. Both Lexi and I write for ASN Lifestyle Magazine. And I want you guys to tune in next week, because we're going to talk about ASN Lifestyle Magazine. We're going to talk about what that magazine means to the swinging community. And I want Michael to tell us all about Top Secret Resort in Orlando that opened like late fall of 2020. And I'm dying to find out a little bit more about the hotel. Because here's the thing, Lexi, I lived in Central Florida. I know exactly where this hotel is. And here's the funny thing. So for some of you who may never get there, I want to share this little funny tidbit about where this adult lifestyle resort is located. So it's located near one of my favorite malls in Orlando area called the Millennium Mall, right? But okay, so you're familiar with Millennium Mall? Okay. So, but here's the ironic thing. It's like when you're looking at Top Secret Resort Hotel on a map, like you see like the Top Secret here and the Millennium is over here somewhere. They're like in close proximity to each other. The reason why that matters is across the highway from Millennium Mall is a theme park called the Holy Land. Yeah. Is that not crazy? Like,
It's sacrilegious. I love it.
yes, I'm like a stone's throw from a kinky adult swinger, whatever you want to call it, hotel is the Holy Land. And that just totally tickles me. When I looked it up on the map, I was like, oh my God. How does that happen? Totally classic.
I think it was maybe done on purpose.
I don't, hey, whatever the case is, but that just totally tickled me when I saw that. So stay tuned next week, because there's also, I'm going to plug this in too, ASN Lifestyle Magazine is having an awards show this year in September at Top Secret Resort Hotel. So I'm looking forward to going to that. And the reason that matters to you watching is because I've been nominated, Lexi's been nominated, Duchess Cashmere, who does a little, who does a little bit for me on Casey at Night, she's also been nominated. You need to go and support us. As a matter of fact, me, Lexi, and Duchess, we've got some cross-pollinating in categories. So here's what you do. You don't pick one, you pick us all, because you can vote every day. So today you pick this one, tomorrow you pick that one, the next day you pick that one. You vote for us all. The one category that I'm not in, that Lexi's in, is she's on the cover of, what is it, the 2019 August cover?
Yes, it's this. It's
Yeah.
my ass on the cover of the magazine.
So, you know why you need to vote for her on the cover. That's what it is. It's her booty. It's her booty. It's this picture right
That's
here.
it.
The
That's
cover of the
the
magazine.
one.
That's why we're voting for that cover. Okay. All right. So anyway, speaking of swinging, I also mentioned earlier that Lexi teaches classes, workshops. I don't even know. I'm such a grown up that I forget. We call them workshops, webinar. I don't know.
Workshops, webinars,
Oh,
sexy videos with advice in them.
yeah, whatever. But Lexi teaches on swinging, and I have yet to catch one of these workshops. I'm actually very interested in catching one of these workshops because it's Swinging 101 is what it's called. So tell us a little bit about that, because I'm very curious. That's not, as they say, that's not in my wheelhouse. So I'm very curious about that.
So, as many people who are probably watching know, all relationships and consensual non-monogamy or ethical non-monogamy or open relationships have become more and more popular over the years, possibly because people are actually talking about them, right? So that people are realizing, oh, wow, monogamy is not just like the default setting. There are other options. I don't have to just be with one person for the rest of my life. So when I first started swinging, I remember wishing that there was someone who could guide me and answer all of those questions that I had. Things like, and really at the beginning, I didn't know what was going on, right? Before I was just learning like everybody else who was just starting an open relationship. And even before starting to play in an open relationship, starting to think about, is this right for me? I wish I had had someone there guiding me, leading me, and answering my questions. Like anything from, what's the best way to create an online profile? What are the questions I should be asking myself before I start an open relationship? What are the kinds of things that I should talk to my partner about? What is a boundary? Do I need them? Things like, how do I approach a couple I'm interested in? What do I do if I'm not interested in somebody else? Things like, and I mean, the questions go on and on. So there are resources out there for every level of open relationships. I'm going to say there aren't. And there are people who are way more experienced than me in open relationships that can help guide you into those later steps. Once you've been together for 15 years, how do you keep it spicy? That kind of thing. But my area of expertise are really helping people going from monogamy to non-monogamy, which incidentally is also the name of the course or presentation I'm going to be doing this Sunday, February 14th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Dating Kinky for their Valentine's Day weekend event, all about love and other things, kinkiness, of course. But why I wanted to do this was because being part of SDC, being the media director of SDC, being a member who also enjoys it, and enjoys the benefits, so work and play, I would say, I've met so many people who have 1,000 questions. What is swinging? What is an open relationship? Is it cheating? Can there be cheating? How do I know, like, how do I convince my partner to do it? Oh God, I hate that question. Because you shouldn't be trying to, pressure your partner into anything they don't want to do. So that's a whole other topic. But there are so many questions. So I'm just trying to answer some of those questions. And I've broken up my Swinging 101 webinars or series into separate webinars. So we had Swinging 101 Newbies Tips and Tricks, which was by now 2 weeks ago, last weekend. I'm losing track of time. This coming episode is going to be about virtual dating do's and don'ts for swingers and folks who are new to open relationships. So that's open for everybody. You can get your tickets at lexisilver.com/events. And I think just contemplating whether an open relationship is right for you. If you are just getting started and you don't know exactly how a good dating profile, because I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of really bad profiles, and I've received a lot of really terrible communications and messages from people of all genders, whether they're single or coupled or in a poly relationship. So I know the things not to do. And I can also recommend things that you should do, putting yourself, like your personality out there, right? We're not just bodies, we're people. We have personalities and feelings and brains, right? But I think that this is really fun for me too, because I get to connect with people who are just starting out their journey. So it's been really, really fun and so rewarding to hear from people that it's actually really helped them. So I plan to continue doing this. I think I have 4 more in this series, and I'm probably going to have to do another season of this series, and maybe a Swinging 201. Is that the next step? So I would love to have you there, Casey. You have an open invitation anytime you want to stop by.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Because like I said, this is not in my wheelhouse. And so I'm, curious because I do hear that word convince. How do I convince? And it's funny because the rest of the question is like a straight up fill in the blank. How do I convince them to do this? And how do I convince them to do that? What do you tell people when they say, how do I convince my partner that we should swing? What do you say?
You don't. I basically say, I emphasize communication. So quite often when it comes to open relationships, there's always one person who brings it up, right? And even if both people are on the same page, it takes one person to bring it up. The other person could say, hell yeah, let's try it. And the other person could say, oh, I don't know enough about it and all of that. One of the biggest issues is that a lot of people rush into the idea of an open relationship without understanding what it actually means. So the other side of it is the person who's not ready to engage with it, or who maybe never will be ready or never wants to engage with it, might not have enough information about what it is that it would entail. And sometimes their partner doesn't even communicate to them what they expect or hope for in an open relationship. Just because I say I'm a swinger and then someone else says they're a swinger doesn't mean that our relationships look anything alike. So it doesn't mean that what I want to get from the swinging lifestyle is the same as what someone else wants to get from the swinging lifestyle. And there's no wrong answer. As long as it's consensual and legal and everyone is agreeing on the boundaries, everything, it's all good, right? So as far as convincing someone, if your partner is not ready and they don't want to do it, forcing them or pressuring them into a situation that they're not comfortable with is, firstly, that's not consent, right? That's not consensual. That's not okay. Everything in a relationship and in life has to be consensual. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you feel you need to convince them, then it's probably not going to be right for your relationship. But if you actually are able to talk about it and say, hey, I'm thinking about maybe have you ever thought about an open relationship? These are the kinds of things that may be interesting for me. I mean, this is like 50 steps down the line, right? You got to like prime them first
Right.
and get a sense of how they might feel about it before you even bring it up. But you never know how your partner's going to feel until you talk about it. And even once you talk about it, you need to start somewhere, right? You can't start with, I want to fuck other people, pardon my French. You got to start with something like, I'd love to watch you kiss someone, like baby steps. So you might find it might be easier to convince your partner if also you explain to them what's in it for you too as a relationship. How can it help your relationship? What is this just a thing about you wanting to have sex with other people, or is it that you want to build something fun with them and explore things sexually that you wouldn't have been able to explore as just two people, or in the case of polyamory, whatever, more people. So if you feel that you need to convince your partner because they're not on board, don't do it. And cheating on them and pretending that you're open and going on dating sites to tell people, oh, I'm open, my girlfriend or wife or whoever knows. And I'm saying this because it is typically men who do this. Sorry, true. I know what my inbox looks like. Okay. It's not okay. And that is cheating. So if you feel that you need to convince someone, don't.
Don't. No, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. But you said something that caught my attention, which is, how would this help the relationship? And what I think is important about that statement is, this can't be selfish. Like the how this helps the relationship answer can't be bullshit. Excuse me, YouTube, Periscope. But it can't just be making something up for the sake of having an answer. Like, you need to genuinely be thinking that, or genuinely reveal to your partner, like when you say, I'd love to see you kiss someone else. It has to be that this is something that you want to see of your partner, not because you want to, as you say, fuck somebody else.
Well, it could be, but it could be because look, the reality is that some couples, or actually a lot of couples, tend to have differences in libido, for instance. Okay, so sometimes there are partners, right, who, one person is really low libido. They don't have a big sex drive. They don't really think about sex a lot. And then there's the other partner who maybe has a high sex drive. And this is like not always the case, right? It could be, who knows? It could be more in the middle. It doesn't matter. This can change hormones, mental health, physical health. There's so many different things that could, factor in here. But if, let's say, for folks who are, honest with each other, they're good communicators, they're open-minded, and one partner is always feeling bad because they can't make their partner feel good in the ways that their partner wants to feel, but they want their partner to feel that, and they're okay with the idea of their partner being with someone else. That is something that could also benefit the relationship, in the sense that both partners feel fulfilled by the idea of one of them having the opportunity to be out with someone else, even though the other one doesn't care about being physical with anyone else. For instance, it's one option, but in an open relationship, like I said, anything goes as long as both partners are consenting to it. So it doesn't have to be both people benefiting in that sexual way.
And again, I think that ties into this idea of, I want to see you, Lexi, experience pleasure. And this is why, I'd like for us to pursue this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because your point is correct. Libidos change. People's sex drive changes for whatever reason. And are you mature enough? Do you love your partner enough that you would let them have that because you want to see them happy in that way. I think
Well,
it's
it has to make you happy too.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. It definitely it makes it, and but that's the thing that I think where people fall short in having the discussion about why they want to do this, right? Like I don't think we're honest in saying, this is, it's going to make me excited to see you excited. You know what I'm saying? And but I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of fear, and that's why we don't approach the conversation. And then we don't know how to communicate these things. We end up saying the wrong thing, and our partner's like, oh, hell no, you ain't fucking some
Yeah.
other bitch. It's like, no, 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 no. That's not what I'm really saying. I mean, yes, that's what I'm saying, but that's not what I'm really, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't really know how to say it so that our partner can receive what we've said, and how this is really about me and you and not me, you, and Mrs. Jones. I mean,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I don't know how easy it is for people to learn that there is a way that you can present this to your partner where at the very least you can talk about it, right? Like I think that's the most significant part. You need to be able to talk about it. And let me say this: one of the things I teach people when you want to have a conversation with your partner about a topic that you're a little hesitant to talk about, and you want them to explore something different, or you want permission to explore something different, don't freak out if you don't get that immediate approval. You have
Yeah.
to continue talking. So, do you find it's the same when we're talking about swinging?
When you're talking about any kind of open relationship, and even if you bring up, for instance, like, well, what's in it for me, being in an open relationship could be super fulfilling and add a lot of intimacy to that relationship, right, as one extra thing that could come from it. But when it comes to having those initial conversations, that's why I really encourage people that before they even bring it up to their partner, they do an honest analysis about what it is that they want to get from being in an open relationship. Because like I said, it could be different for everybody. For one person it could be fantasy fulfillment. For another person it could be they just want they want to have their partner and watch and experience, let's say, a threesome or group sex with their partner there. Some people want to play solo. It really depends. So before you even bring it up to someone, you need to have that honest discussion. That is going to help you, a discussion with yourself rather, that is going to help you form your words as well when it does come time for you to talk to your partner about it, because you'll know what your perspective is, right? The other thing is, if you are just getting started having those conversations with your partner, what Casey's saying is right. This is it, you can't just jump into having an open relationship like after one conversation. The first conversation is just what if we did this kind of thing. And then after, it could be like, what could that look like? Would you be interested in X, Y, and Z? It could take multiple conversations, many weeks, months, even years for some people to actually talk about it and to be honest with each other. And sometimes there's arguing in between, because sometimes someone says something that, unfortunately we get emotional, we are fired up, we're excited, maybe our partner is a little less excited, maybe they're the ones who are more excited and we're not. There's a lot of fear in there. There's also the fear of judgment from your partner. There's so much going on in these situations. It is natural for it to take multiple conversations. But if you're noticing that the conversations are constantly ending with, I don't want to do this, and all you keep doing is pushing it, pushing it, pushing it, you are barking up the wrong tree, so to speak. So yes, be ready to have those multiple conversations, not just before, but if you don't like communicating, open relationships are not for you. Relationships are not for you. Communication is the foundation of any healthy relationship. And I should say, sorry, healthy communication, because you could talk at a person and not actually be engaging in proper, like, healthy communication techniques. It is the centerpiece, the foundation of any healthy relationship. if you're in an open relationship and you feel like you can't talk to your partner, I don't know how you are managing a healthy open relationship.
Because you're
You
probably
need to be talking. Yeah, probably not. And I've seen a lot of not healthy open relationships, and it is trouble. Trouble, not in a fun way, not in I'm a trouble. No, in the, oh shit, that's trouble. That's no good right there. Right. Yeah, you don't want that. So be ready to talk, be ready to be honest, and be ready to listen. Communication is also about listening, active listening, and engaging with what your partner says and not judging them. Even if they have a kink or something, they're saying something that doesn't resonate with you, listen to them. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm getting super off track, but I'm going to stop there.
No, yes, and I want you to stop there because I want folks to join your webinar, join the conversation, become a part of this series, because like I said, this is something that's not in my wheelhouse, and I find it fascinating because when you talk about kink in general, it sometimes crosses over into this swinger place. Not that you identify as a swinger, but sometimes your kink puts you in that place, and you may find yourself thinking, ooh, can we? Should we? What do we do? You know what I'm saying? And I think having the conversation in advance of even being in that place, it matters. It definitely matters. You need to know where everybody's, where they're at. Because I mean, you may say, for example, go to a swinger event and neither you nor your partner want to actually swing with anyone else, but you enjoy the ambiance, you enjoy the experience, you enjoy watching other people. What happens is you go home and you talk about that experience. And the next thing you know, you're like, well, what would you be okay with? Would you, are you okay if we do something there? Are you okay if we're in the room where there's a lot of people doing things, but it's still just me and you together? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you literally can baby step your way into an experience. You can baby step your way into an experience without having to, go full on, go ham, wife swap. Nobody says you have to do all of that. Nobody says that.
No, and what you just said is so key. You said you can baby step. You have to baby step, because if something goes wrong in those initial steps, it's okay. You can dial it back, but at least you know very early on, oh wow, I didn't like watching you kiss somebody else. That's not okay. It's a lot easier to go back from that than saying, oh wow, I did not want to watch you have sex, like full on penetration with somebody else. That's now there is something I don't think we can ever come back from that.
Right.
So you have to baby step your way. And some open couples, all they do is do the voyeurism exhibitionism thing. That's okay too. And I love that.
It is so sexy to be a voyeur. Oh, that is sexy. It is sexy. Very sexy. Very, very.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Can you believe, Lexi, there's like 10 minutes left to the show already?
Yeah, I can believe. You know how we are.
And I'm like, okay, wait, I had a whole nother thing. So, okay. First of all, I want to acknowledge we have a viewer by the name of Tucker 2088 who has chimed in during this swinger conversation and agrees with the communication, the open communication, agrees with you got to be honest. Ooh, you got to be honest. I didn't mean to use air quotes on honest, but you got to be honest. And then agreed with us on the dip your toes in the water before you jump in. There is nothing wrong with that. And, while there are places who are, locations that are like, you got to come, you got to take off all your clothes. If that's not your thing, go someplace where you don't have to do all of that, where it's okay to just sort of hang out. There's a lot of places where it's just okay to hang out. And, please, by all means. And so, real quick, Lexi, tell folks about SDC because I think it's a good segue from our swingers conversation to talk about SDC.
Absolutely. So SDC.com is used to be known as Swingers Date Club, but these days is Seek, Discover, Connect, and it is the world's largest lifestyle dating platform. And I, as the media director, I also run the media part of it, which is the world's largest adult sex education website. So you will find resources from educators all around the world, all about open relationships, kink, sex, health, sexual health, et cetera, that will also help you on your journey as you are, going through either from monogamy to any form of open relationship or up to polyamory plus type thing. So being an SDC member, being part of the dating site, you will have access to be able to meet from all around the world, whether they're single or not. And you'll have access to parties and events that are exclusive to members of SDC. You'll be able to, live chat, do speed dating, live stream, and a number of other really, really, really fun things. It's really a great community. And one of the reasons I love it is because it's super international. So I could be connecting with people in Europe. Okay, granted, the time change makes it a little complicated, but as long as you know your time zones, you're good to go. And it's just a really, I've met so many great people from there. Some of my closest friends are SDC members. So there are lots of opportunities for meet and greets in maybe non-pandemic times, let's say. And eventually you're able to, meet people face to face. But for now, it's a really great place to meet folks who are, in that foreplay, stage where you get to learn about someone's kinks and flirt and see that mutual attraction. So if you haven't yet, go to sdc.com and try it out for free for yourself.
Yes, and let me just say, I am, what would you call me, an affiliate, an educator? I don't know what I would be referred to as, but I'm there, and I haven't utilized all of the capabilities as an educator affiliate, but I have, in creating my profile, seen parties all over. Like Lexi talks about how international it is. So for those of you who are like, I don't even have a passport, not to worry. There are parties all over the U.S. Pick a state. Where are you going next week? There's a party somewhere. And that was one of the things that was really, really interesting to me is there's literally a party, a club, a something everywhere all the time.
All the time.
All the time, all the time. So for those of you who are like not impressed with the whole international aspect of it, you got plenty to do locally. I promise you
Oh,
that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You could find people and events and everything based on distance. It could be like a kilometer away from you, a mile away from you. I'm so Canadian. That was the most Canadian thing I've said tonight.
That's okay. Okay, I'm not even gonna. As long as we keep it at one, I can make the the translation. Once you get above one, I'm like, okay, how far is that? I don't know how far that is.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that was that I really found fascinating is the fact that there are these parties everywhere. Because again, if you're contemplating exploring swinging and you're like, I don't know where we go. I don't know, what do we do? Guess what? SDC calendar. It's like, take a dart and throw it at the map. And okay, what's close to Memphis? You know what I'm saying? Like, it is that good in terms of letting you know who's doing what, where, and when. So yeah, I highly recommend checking out SDC, even if it's for no other reason other than to learn a little bit more. Folks are friendly. You know what I'm saying? Create a profile and just start asking other people questions, other folks in the lifestyle Ask them questions. Some people will share, some people won't.
Respectfully.
I'm sorry?
I said respectfully.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Don't be an ass is what she's not saying. So I'm going to say. But, but it's a chance to talk to other people. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody started somewhere. And, you may be able to make friends who are willing to be your Sherpa and help you navigate swinging, or help you. Lexi's pointing at herself. Or you may find out, ooh, no, yeah, no, we're not quite ready for swinging, and that's okay too. What I do hope, though, in realizing that swinging's not for you, what I do hope you had learned along that journey is some little things to make your experience a little bit kinkier. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Lexi and I are here for. We're here to help you figure out how to get your kink on. And that's what I like about Lexi.
I love that about you. You are always, always forward thinking with that. You always have great tips and advice for keeping it kinky or making it kinky if it's not already kinky.
Thank you. Because you know what? I feel like the vanilla world gets a bum rap. The vanilla world, they get told how corny they are, how corny their sex is, how basically they ain't shit because they're not flogging, beating, whipping, paddling, pegging. They're not doing, you know what I'm saying? And I've always been of the mind that you've got to start somewhere. It's got a little baby step here, little baby step there, which is why I love pervertibles. That will be a different show altogether. But I love a pervertible. Why? Because while you can't fathom spanking your partner with a paddle, how do you feel about a wooden spoon from the kitchen that she just used to make your birthday cake that still has
Yeah.
cake batter on it? Ah,
Ooh,
yeah, okay, right? So now you've just given your sweetie a few love taps, and now you can lick her boo boo because it got cake batter on it. See, now you're
love
all
that.
going, wait, what? How did we just change topics just that quick? Because Because that's what Lexi and I are here for. That's why we're here. This is why I invited Lexi. We've got tips for you. Wherever you are on the spectrum of kink, we got you. Right, Lexi? Tell them, Lexi. Tell them.
Absolutely. And I mean, when it comes to kink, Casey is the foremost person that I go to. I've been to Casey's workshop on pervertibles. I had my ass spanked by Twizzlers and pull-and peels, and I can tell you that stings. It doesn't. It's not as everyone
Innocent.
thinks candy's for kids. It is not for kids.
Nah, it is not innocent by any means. And yes, Jason, if all goes well, I plan on being at Exotica in New Jersey just because you asked. Yes, yes. So here we are. We're at the end of the show. And before I let Lexi go, I just want you all to know how to find her. There's her website at lexisilver.com. And on Instagram and Twitter, she is Lexi Silver. She's also, what is that? Get Lexual on Facebook. I'm sorry. I had something covering my screen. I couldn't see it. So she's also
All
Get
good.
Lexual on Facebook. Lexi, listen, Lexi is everywhere. Lexi is everywhere. Just make your life easier and go to lexisilver.com. This way you don't have to remember all of those. You can just go to that one place and find all. Because I just gave you like this much Lexi. Go to her website and you can get this much Lexi. You can't see my arm,
Yes.
but I'm just saying. But Lexi, I want to thank you so much for being here with me tonight. It definitely has meant everything to me that you would help me bring Casey at Night back to the live audience.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for having me on. This is always fun. We could do this for hours, and we're going to do this again. So anyone who's like, oh wow, I love the energy, we need to do this again, you will see this dynamic duo again.
A lot. Again, a lot, a lot, a lot. So again, I want to remind you again real quick. This coming or next week, a week from today, how about that? Michael Ramos from ASN Lifestyle Magazine, of which Lexi and I are both contributors. And then February 24th, Ms. Marche. If you don't know who Ms. Marche is, you need to Google it. Google her. Go to Instagram, type in Ms. Marche. Go to Twitter and type in Ms. Marche. And then I expect to see you on the 24th when she'll be on. I do expect to see you next week when I'm talking to Michael and we get him to reveal the secrets of the top secret resort. But in the meantime, Lexi, you don't go anywhere. The rest of y'all, I'm going to give you 1 hour, and then I expect to see you back here on YouTube when I will be on BoobTube talking about Sam Jackson movies. Samuel L. Jackson movies. 10 o'clock. BoobTube right here on YouTube. Okay. Bye.